Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar titled Why Partnering with the National Distributor Empowers You to Do More. I'm Tara Tomlinson and I'm our Director for EECOL for our lighting and our data division, and audio video is now a part of that division. Today, Warren Press, our technical sales specialist for the audio video division, will present. Warren comes to us with over 30 years experience in the industry. He is well respected for his expertise and dedication, not only to his dealers, but also the vendors he works with. I'm delighted that he has joined our EECOL team. During the presentation, you are welcome to submit your questions in the Q&A section. We will address them at the end. This presentation and the Q&A session will be recorded and will be made available on our website under the What's On landing page eventually, and YouTube channels. With that, Warren, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate that. I'll say it right now, we had a last minute change on some technical here, so I'm going to be kind of oriented a little, looking not at the camera here, but this is the screen that I'm going to be able to see to give you the feedback of what's going on today. So as Tara mentioned, obviously, and some of the stuff that's gone out there is EECOL is now all in on AV or audio video. Again, she's already kind of mentioned some of this stuff, but I'll tell you, I joined EECOL this last September, just prior to CEDIA, with the goal of indeed helping to develop and grow an audio video division within the company. My formal training or background is in electronics engineering and digital design. And yes, it's creeping up on here. It's not 30, it's even 34 years. I've worked in pretty much all aspects of the audio, video, and home automation industry. And bottom line with this, I'm excited to bring some top tier AV brands, to basically establish EECOL as a primary and valued AV distributor in Canada. So we'll get going with this stuff. I mean, for a lot of people, being that EECOL has been around for only about 106 years now. There's still a question, if you've not really been involved heavily with it in the past, who exactly is EECOL? And it started as indeed the Electric Equipment Company Limited. Obviously, you can get to see where EECOL came from that in 1919 in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And over the past century plus, obviously the world's evolved a lot, and so has EECOL. There is now indeed 65 branches and growing, with over 1,000 employees in the company. And as you could maybe see from that, that previous slide that was up there, we basically now have branches ranging from, the tip of Vancouver Island off into Ontario and up even into the territories. So, we are in a lot of places where you are, and that's one of the biggest things that's, it's been kind of fun to see over the years, is how much EECOL has grown in so many various areas. But again, touching on this thing, saying, well, who is EECOL? Again, back to that original slide there, it's, well, aren't they an electrical wholesaler, electrical distributor? Yeah, they are, and they have been pretty much from day one. But again, with all of the evolution that's happened, EECOL is also an automation, and I guess for the people on this channel here, we'll say an industrial automation distributor, and they've been that for many years as well. Obviously, and some of the other evolution of the company, we are also a renewables distributor. So that's everything from indeed solar to wind power to, even powering now our electric vehicles. It is a full spectrum lighting distributor in every possible aspect, including some of our permanent holiday lights, the Watts lighting, that type of thing. But whether you're looking at high bay lights or you name it, there's really a lighting solution within the mix as well. Hugely into the data and communication side of things, which is part of the division that we're operating under, the AV side of things, right from data center on down, just if you're needing some easy to set up and functional in a residential environment networking type of product. So smart home distributor and a full-blown security distributor, really whatever you're needing from cameras to access controls and such. So what is EECOL as a distributor? It's a lot of things. There's indeed been a lot of evolution over the years, and now basically we are also an audio video distributor as well. So with that, we're going to touch over a little bit in the beginning part of this to discuss a little bit of how some of this stuff is going to the market, how you might be getting it right now, but also what EECOL is bringing into the mix. And then it's really going to be, you know, a lot of sort of, I guess, if you will, picture or image based to kind of go through this and relate back some of the applications to the products that we brought on board to be able to, you know, to satisfy those needs. So, so obviously, again, this call is geared towards AV integrators, and as such, obviously, AV is your business. You know, there are really 3 different marketplaces that AV exists in: residential, commercial, and professional or pro AV. And your business might be in one and or all 3 of those marketplaces. So, you know, with that, we've tried to indeed, you know, bring solutions for these things. But, you know, just getting down to this, everybody's at a potentially different level in maybe 1 or all 3 of these different areas. And so, like anything in life, you're going to want to walk before you run, before you sprint. And, you know, if we look over to the right-hand side of the screen over here, you know, that's probably not what most people's, you know, initial residential AV projects looked like at the same time. For a number of people on the call, that is probably exactly where you're at now. So we've got, you know, a really broad range of skill sets and needs as we span those various areas. Now, the same thing is said with commercial. I mean, you might have done a small restaurant job, but your first project probably wasn't a 2 million square foot, you know, shopping mall, for instance. And the same thing would be said if you go into the pro AV side of things. You know, you probably weren't doing professional sports arenas to start off in this path. And, you know, and you might be now. Again, we've got people that are kind of spanning all of the various areas in this, and we've tried to indeed bring in a mix, a range of products that can work in these areas and help your business and satisfy the needs in these various areas. So what we're going to touch on right now is, you know, just the whole concept of, you know, buying direct versus buying from a, you know, traditional AV distributor versus buying potentially from a security distributor. And with that, you know, buying direct obviously can be a good thing. You know, pricing might be slightly better. You know, certainly if you're able to reach prepaid freight on all of your orders. You know, if you've got no issues with maintaining the volume that the manufacturer's looking for, whether quarterly, monthly, annually, you know, that still can make it work out for you. You know, if the manufacturers are maintaining significant inventory levels, especially for more of an integrator size of customer. You know, manufacturers, if they're based in Canada or, you know, then they're typically probably dealing in Canadian dollars and ship from within Canada. So the positive is obviously you're not having to deal with brokerage and duty and tariffs and all the rest of that kind of thing. Direct can also be a challenge, and it's almost the opposite of some of those things. You know, if you are getting that slightly better pricing, you know, it can be quickly eroded if you're not able to get to a prepaid freight on all of your orders. You know, if you potentially need that one more item or something's been forgot or missed or gone missing off of a project and you have to overnight that in, you know, sometimes that one thing can start offsetting, you know, even a couple of orders as far as where that advantage is. You know, market and economic issues can make it difficult to sometimes throughout the year do enough volume to satisfy those manufacturers' needs or wants as far as volume commitments. You know, if the manufacturer, and this has been a case I've dealt with over my history in this industry, if a manufacturer takes large orders from some big box stores, that type of thing, they seem to be happy to do that, but it obviously leaves not a lot of inventory left for, you know, smaller to mid-size accounts. Excuse me. And then on top of that, you know, manufacturers don't build all of their products consecutively all at the same time. You know, and production runs, you know, can be, you know, every time, sometimes a couple of months apart between they'll run that particular model and build it again. And so again, in that same circumstances, if you've been in a situation where that product is sold out or a large order's gone out, you know, it can often leave you with no stock until that next production run. So last part, I think, as far as that dealing direct, if the manufacturer's outside of Canada, you know, and selling in a foreign currency, then again, you're back to the point of looking after brokerage fees, duties, handling tariffs. And of course, that's been a real fun one the last number of months is, you know, the shifting and changing things on the tariff side of things. So on the flip side, you go, well, distribution can be good. And I agree that it can be. You know, pricing could be equal or marginally higher than buying direct on some products. Often in the case of distribution, you can combine a number of different brands and make it a little easier to get to prepaid freight on your orders. Maintaining enough volume to satisfy a distributor's sales requirements can be easier. Sorry, for you to be able to satisfy a distributor sales requirements can actually be quite a bit easier than buying manufacturer direct. You know, most distributors, their focus is typically not on big box store accounts, that type of thing. They are geared more towards providing the inventory and product for, you know, integrator size of customers. You know, Canadian distributor, again, obviously is selling typically in Canadian dollars and ships within Canada. You're not dealing with brokerage duties and tariffs, that type of thing. A challenge on that same side from distribution or traditional distribution, you know, whether traditional AV or on the security side of things, that in a number of cases, the pricing may not be all that close. There's quite a few examples out there of distribution doing two steps where, you know, how exactly they're acquiring their products. In a lot of cases, they're not actually a distributor in the mind of the manufacturer. They are getting the product, they're reselling it, but they are not an authorized, or even if the manufacturer doesn't go against of the authorized side of things, you know, they're not necessarily able to sell at a competitive rate on some of these products. You know, again, traditionally for a lot of distribution, they're based at one end of the country or the other. And, you know, it still might require you trying to reach prepaid freight levels because you're having the order coming from one part of the country to the other in order to, you know, work on putting that order together. That's probably going to take a week to get out to you. The freight, prepaid freight levels might be slightly higher. This is one thing that I've gotten feedback from dealers right across the country, you know, certainly when in my days as a rep, you know, of many AV and security distributors trying to offer 3, 7 or more in some cases competing brands, saying, well, we're the distributor for XYZ and on and on. The challenge is, you know, whether that's just by choice of trying to carry too many lines, or often the case is just in their, you know, sometimes their financial ability to support those lines. It's usually leaving them short to be able to supply products when an integrator comes to them and I'm going to do this project and I'd like to do it in this brand and this model. And it's often where it's saying, well, you know, we're going to have to wait until we do our next stock order, that type of thing. And that's kind of in what this was relating to here is, you know, there's, again, a lot of distributors that are smaller, a little bit bootstrap type of thing, where they're working on a very tight budget, you know, and they can only fill your orders in a lot of cases when, you know, your orders and maybe your competitors' orders are pooled together enough so that they can place a factory order. You know, there's also situations where some distributors are open to selling virtually anyone, anything, including the public. I mean, if you can walk in, you can probably buy it from some of these places. So keeping all of that in mind, you know, what would be the advantage of buying AFI from EECOL? What, you know, what are we bringing to the table? And part of that is indeed just the, you know, the means and the support that is behind the company. We're part of a $22 billion annual sales public company, you know, and obviously we've got the resources to ensure that, you know, we can bring in stock levels to meet the demands, you know, based on what our integration partners are looking for. You know, that doesn't mean that we're just going to sprinkle, you know, inventory absolutely everywhere at all 65 branches. But based on, you know, working with our integrators, if you need us to be having that product in stock at your local location, we can do that. As I said, you know, we are hyper local, and that's a term that we use, you know, fondly internally here, is the fact that, you know, we are, with some of the expansions happening, we're in nearly 70 locations across Canada. So in most cases, we're really able to say we are where you are. And all of those branch locations are supported by 6 regional hubs. So again, even if that remote location, wherever it might happen to be, doesn't have what you need, the regional hubs are generally within a day's delivery to those branch locations. So again, it's very easy to get that product right to where you're at. You know, there's over 1,000 EECOL employees now that are just eager to assist you and help you with whatever your projects are. And in most cases, our pricing is equal or marginally above buying direct. But the flip side of that is the product is right where you are. There's no freight, there's no hassle. You can just get it right in your local area. And then to underline that, again, right from day one, the goal was to make sure the brands that we sell, we are absolutely, directly authorized by the manufacturers to be the distributor for it, or possibly maybe one of the distributors for it. But, we are not at all focused on trying to have brands in our mix that we aren't actually the authorized distributor for. That way we can indeed make sure that we are able to keep our pricing in line with where it should be on what you're buying from us. So on top of the fact that, we've got all of these locations, we are where you are, except that type of thing, in EECOL's history, which certainly predated any of the AV side of things, there's been a lot of infrastructure put in place to be able to support our local integrators and dealers, for instance. So, we've got express pickup counters where you can indeed place your orders, have them pre-picked ahead of time, and they are ready, at the express pickup counter, and the door's ready to go. So whoever's coming by to pick that stuff up, it's a lot faster and smoother process on that. Again, not only stocking products in all these local warehouses, but in many of our locations, EECOL even has our own delivery vans, and that can be anything from same day to next day delivery of your orders right to you as well. And that is, again, a service that's been in place and as mature. We're not starting with that. And then as the picture showing at the bottom there, it seems to be the case where everybody's saying there's just not enough hours in the day. So again, many of our locations have 24-hour on-site or remote lockers for the convenience of being able to deal with this stuff when you have time to deal with them. So as stated a little earlier, one of the things we want to make sure is clear is that, EECOL's AV brands are not available for just anyone to purchase. A specialist, either like myself, or there is indeed throughout the region, there are specialists that are focused on this particular channel, and they would have to have the ability to know you, understand your business, and if it's making sense for both parties, your account would need to be one, if it's not already, would be set up at EECOL, and then the individual products would need to be activated in order for you to be able to buy those brands. And that is indeed a situation where we're trying to keep this so that it's not, walk-up counter sales. It's not just anybody that happens to have an EECOL account is able to buy these products. We're not at all interested in trying to sell this product to your customers. We're indeed looking to try and have partnerships and support what you're doing. Even to that point, there are a number of brands that we are doing that indeed EECOL is actually the exclusive means for that product be sold in the Canadian marketplace. Excuse me. And we've, again, kind of stating back to something that, I've seen in the marketplace and dealt with a lot of distributors. We have very specifically and deliberately limited the number of competing brands that we are carrying in order to obviously do exactly what we're wanting to fulfill from that integrator's perspective of saying, I would like to be able to call you guys up and know that you stock this stuff and that you're carrying enough inventory of it so that we are able to, satisfy our needs and not be in a situation of trying to spread that around to, a half a dozen or so competing brands. So that has been a real strong focus right from day one on a lot of the setting up of this stuff. Now, saying all of that, again, obviously EECOL's got this 106-year history. They've been dealing with the electrical side of things for many, many years and continue to do so. We have indeed brought in some very specific AV related brands that are available to purchase by the electrical trade. I mean, they are a very select group of products that are done that way. And for the most part, that is indeed because a lot of that channel is needing to get up to speed with even how to do some of these things and whether they want to. But what we've done with that is brought in products that are specifically related to that side of the market. Now, on the flip side, integrators, you have access to all of the brands, including these brands, but the flip side is not true. We've not made these brands wide open to anybody that is not specifically in the AV industry already. Obviously, again, anybody can decide that they would like to go in that direction, and with education, etc., that type of thing, there could be some expansion of companies. But overall, we're really looking at this as as two different areas, and wanting to make sure that we are first and foremost looking after the that integration market that's making their living on doing AV integration. So with that, as we get through this here, obviously integrators have opportunities, as we said right from the beginning, in residential, commercial, and the pro AV market. So we've tried to assemble a good selection of brands to be able to work in, and provide solutions in all of these various areas. So what we're going to cover off now, there's just a couple things. Obviously, we are arranging a full schedule. It was mentioned early on that some of this products, including some of these webinars and that type of thing, will be available on the What's On section of EECOL's website. We will also be posting quite consistently and quite regularly now a lot of training opportunities, and some of those will indeed be in person. A lot of them will be done sort of more of at our regional locations. And then on top of that, there is indeed a plethora of these manufacturers wanting to get involved in this, and have offered us, all of their online and live and or recorded webinars. And in most cases, if they're doing live webinars and live trainings with us, we've already prearranged to be able to indeed record those and have those available. So we'll be pulling a library available to be able to access a lot of this stuff. If you can't join a live training or a live webinar, to be able to have that available at a future date for you. And we've got some internal technical support people, and the manufacturers indeed have also all offered a level of technical support and engineering support on these projects. So we'll get into a little bit of the market opportunities. This will go fairly quickly here, because as this next little slide shows you, I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And quite frankly, that's really what we're going to try and do for the next little bit here, is run through a picture scenario, and then basically you'll see the brands associated with that. So if we go to this next slide, with regards to indoor multi-room music systems, you'll see logos across the top there. These are brands that we've got that in various aspects satisfy needs in these areas. And this might be, new construction or retrofit. It might be wired or wireless type of product, and at different points or different maybe price solutions in the marketplace. So this is kind of how we're going to move through the next little bit, is, show these applications or these opportunities, and you'll see basically a, selection of the vendors that we have lined up and or have started bringing inventory in for. So, so this now could go to indeed, desktop and some hi-fi applications. We are not trying to be a full-blown hi-fi distributor, but there is indeed often the opportunity to provide a little bit of that type of a solution in certain applications for integrators. The regular hi-fi channel is its own thing, and you need to usually have dozens and dozens and dozens of options, and the customers want to hear dozens of options. So, but we do have a range of selections and products that can work well in this space as well. When you go to outdoor music systems, now that can be on decks, patios, to full landscape. It can be a city backyard, and that can be going out to indeed full-size acreages with sports courts and a swimming pool and this and that. You may want to have multiple different areas covered. We can do that with a number of the brands that are in the mix here, going over indeed to even some surface mounted products, some that's going to be embedded or buried into the landscaping, for instance, and then even some unique products that is combining some low voltage lighting as well as some audio experiences. So you can do both of those things with one bunch of low voltage cable, which again, the integrator market is perfectly comfortable in running that. We move over into indoor television and projection systems. And again, we've got a range of products and solutions in here, whether it is indeed televisions, whether it's projection, whether it's for all kinds of applications. There's some projectors that are really great for, for people that are gaming and playing first person shooter stuff that need super fast refresh rates. Other ones are geared towards other applications, but we've got a range of solutions in there for that. and even outdoor television and projection systems. So everything from, portable products like the one shown on the left there that can be basically packed up, taken anywhere. You can take it out in the boat, can put it in go on a camping trip. You can load it full of information. It's got rechargeable batteries. And if you're within Wi-Fi somewhere, you can do all smart applications, that kind of thing too, outdoor projections. And then obviously, as we're all aware in this channel, that, there are very specific outdoor televisions as well. And we've got a range of partial sun and full sun product on that side of things. Home theater systems, they can be obviously family room, living room based. So it might be incorporating some freestanding product, some built-in product. In a lot of cases, it's nice to be able to have these custom soundbar applications. This is a spectacular sounding bar now, all aluminum construction, and we have a basically 3-day turnaround from just being provided a manufacturer's brand. So it could be a Samsung X model, and that's all we need to be able to custom build these things and have them built and shipped from the manufacturer within 3 days of us actually placing the order for that. Then you go into indeed more of the wired versus wireless opportunities for these family room and living room systems. So again, there's options in the mix for being able to do that. And again, if we actually pop back to that last slide, when we see things like the Denon Hios, so on and so forth, that may be where you've got a mixture. You've got maybe a theater that's going in that is a receiver base, and that is, Hios is their own internal multi-room opportunity for that kind of thing, and you can do that with a mixture of both wired and wireless product. Then we move over into indeed dedicated theater rooms and gaming rooms, for instance, and they can be the same thing. They can also be different products going in there depending on what the primary purpose of that and what shape and size and so on and so forth. But again, we've got a range of products to be able to salute those to solve those solutions as well, or create those solutions. And then obviously an area that's been, growing. I don't know if it's politically correct to call things man caves, but I mean, typically there are these sporting or fun AV spaces kind of thing, and we've got a range of products to be able to help provide the solutions for those kind of applications as well. So I think we're next tipping over into the commercial side of things. And with commercial, obviously, we're just adding, a number of features where, again, as this first slide shows here, could be for restaurants, but you're adding something like music, but also possibly paging, for instance, which we're typically not doing a lot in residential, but again, opportunities there. And then with some of the products that we brought in to be able to support this stuff, there's also the legalities of, playing consumer streaming products in a commercial environment. So again, some of the brands that we've got in here actually support proper and legal licensed playback, and they can not only provide curated music playlists back in these environments that are legal to be used in those environments, but on top of that, they can add time schedules where it's going to shift different genres and that type of thing right through to be able to actually incorporate advertising or specials or whatever that the vendor in a commercial environment may want to mix in with the music that's being played. We go over again, sports bars are a huge one for this. So again, you're just needing a range of products, solution, and plumbing for a better, for not a better word of saying how we're going to indeed make all this stuff go to where it needs to go to, all the rest of the stuff. And then there would be a control aspect of that as well. When you get into commercial and common areas, you've indeed got music and paging applications, but that's where you start to get a mix of needs for sound masking, for instance. When you have large open offices with a lot of cubicles and that kind of thing, you've got a lot of people on phone calls, having conversations, all the rest of this. And, the idea of the sound masking in this is to keep some level of privacy, keep some level of one space not overhearing the other, or not interfering with the with the other conversations that are going on. And that can indeed, like I said, go out into more commercial spaces. Hugely in this now is actually as you're tipping into both doctors' offices, you go up to the front counter of a doctor's office and you're talking about your own medical details, so on and so forth. Certainly at a pharmacy, the whole sound masking thing is becoming a huge need in that kind of environment, because you're talking about a lot of information that you probably would rather have private when you're talking to the doctor or the pharmacist, that kind of thing. Office meeting huddle rooms, boy, the whole conferencing side of things. We've put a fair bit of time and thought into some of the products and brands that we've done in this, because people want it from a very simple, bring your own meeting, just hook it up and being able to do that. We've got that from some single bar type of products where you can do, speakers, mics, and cameras, and you can do the whole meeting all in one, right to certified Teams and Zoom rooms, that type of thing. So again, we've assembled the type of products and pieces that we need to be able to do that you're able to do that with stuff that we've got. And then we get into indeed more retail environments where, again, you're dealing with indoor music and paging applications, for instance, gyms, fitness facilities. Again, now there might be both music as well as some video content that's going to be dealt with in those applications. Some areas that we don't think of specifically for AV traditionally anyways is when you're getting out into that manufacturing and industrial space. This might be just for indoor paging, emergency messaging, shift changes, so on and so forth. And this carries over right over into, more warehousing type of applications. You've got a lot of those same kind of needs. Rarely is it for actually playing background music, although I've been involved in a couple projects. Even in warehousing, that is a feature they wanted. They want to be able to play music in there. It's a challenge because of generally the background noise level is so high in these places that it's not necessarily always that enjoyable to try and have music playing at the same time. Excuse me. Obviously, we're tipping out into vehicle showrooms, equipment lots, both indoor and outdoor. This can indeed be for background music and paging. Obviously, the larger the equipment lots, they're all needing to do that paging extending outside of showrooms and that type of thing. Then we get into the whole restaurants, hospitality, but the outdoor side of that. So again, this could be video, it could be audio products, but you need all the right solutions to be able to do these things year round, even in Canada, for indoor and outdoor applications. Outdoor music. When we get to resorts and hospitality, this is where, again, even some of the lighting and music product that we were looking at earlier, to have bowlers ranging throughout throughout a hospitality, a hotel property, spa property, that kind of thing, or going into a hot springs location, you just have some of that need to be able to bring that outdoor sound into that application as well. And whether it's small, locally situated one application, or you need to try to do the entire property. So BenQ we brought in, I've not been narrowing out any of the particular brands, but BenQ is the #1 projector, simulation projector. They make dozens and dozens of different models based on whether you're doing sports or golf simulators, right up through to the transportation, aviation side of the industry, a whole range of products to be able to satisfy those kind of needs. Then we tip over into the whole, video wall / digital signage side of things. And again, just a range, we'll go through the next few slides here, but a range of applications. So it could be in a boardroom or a meeting space where you're trying to do even maybe a mix of some of these things to do presentations as well as some video signage, but it could be right out into a shopping mall, just needing that advertising presence. But we're seeing digital signage virtually everywhere we go these days. So whether it's the menu boards at your favorite fast food restaurant to any reasonable size hotel chain now typically has one or multiple different video displays on, so it could be the events going on at the hotel, it could be keeping an eye on what's happening at the airport as far as departure times, etc., that type of thing, and maybe indeed some news and weather broadcasts happening. Excuse me. There are also some very unique digital signage products that are, again, indoor outdoor applications, unusual shapes to these things. But they could be right down from obviously like the bakery you're seeing on one side to a fashion outlet, for instance, that wants to be able to have very specific signage, but fitting into their application or their aesthetic. Again, digital signage / now we get into some of the touch interactive product where It might be just digital signage, might be a directory in a shopping mall, but it also might be where you're wanting to indeed have the interactive side where you're going to find your way. You can look and select where you want to go and get maps on that. Could be at a museum where there's obviously could be self-guided tours, etc. You just want to look up where a particular display is. Then we get into indeed interactive displays where they kind of grew up and are still incredibly popular, especially in that whole K-12 side of things, of interactive, whiteboards, etc., that type of thing, expanding out into obviously in the higher education side of things. They're doing more of that as well, but then also a lot of projection based going into that same market. Now, interactive displays also have a home in the corporate environment. Everything from just as you see on that left here, maybe how spaces are being done or allocated or what's going on in different areas of the company, through to potentially design engineering companies, that type of thing, wanting to be able to at one or multiple locations interact with what's being presented on the screen. Last section that we're going to go through here, and we should still be staying on time, is in the Pro AV side of things. So Pro AV, again, we're talking to people that are already in this channel, so you'd know this, but I mean, Pro AV, the big division between that and a lot of commercial is we are typically looking at more of a live content, live microphones, and then the appropriate hardware, speakers and such, to be able to handle that. We've all been in an environment where somebody's blowing into a microphone or banging on top of it, test kind of thing. A lot of conventional commercial and residential speakers certainly don't like that. It's a very fast way to blow tweeters and such. But then beyond that, these speakers generally need to be able to provide some real output, large distribution, for instance, and very high SPL level. So again, that's talking to the converted. You guys already know Pro AV side of things, but we've indeed brought a range of products in to be able to work with and support that side of things as well. So that could be everything from, a range of wired and wireless microphones for these applications, everything from the spin class instructor to, people putting on a educational talk or an event that you're needing to have a live component to it. And then you've got installed Pro AV systems, and this is again where you've got often mixed type of venues. Could be everything from this, this hotel on the left here where they occasionally have some live act, whether it's just the piano player or maybe there's a little trio or something comes in where there needs to be some support for that. And in this case, they desired to have it be installed to the venue that's on the right over here. And this could be set up obviously for talks and lectures, but it could also be their small performance area kind of thing, and with product installed to be able to support that on an ongoing basis. Sports facilities, as we talked about earlier, obviously there's a lot of applications right from the school level to, to towns across the country all have their sports facilities, whether gymnasiums or, potentially, the hockey arena, so on and so forth, where there is a need for maybe not the most gigantic, PA system like we saw in the beginning there in the Toyota Center, but as far as it goes, they still have a lot of the same needs, just on a scaled back application. The whole house of worship, regardless of what kind of denomination it is, there is a lot of need for an AV content in this, and it can be very simple, from being able to just broadcast somebody's voice that is speaking to that congregation to full AV. You're going to have, the video content, so on and so forth. But even sticking with the audio, you might have just that speaking situation, and that would need a certain type of product or system in place. You might also have, for instance, a choir that's involved in this, which would again need something slightly different. But then you could go down to an application where you might actually have a live band playing as part of some of these things. So there's a lot of different needs and applications in these applications as well. Then there is indeed very specific product for conferencing systems. And again, this is more live conferencing systems where maybe a city council or town council or that type of thing, where again, you're looking for a very specific system, a chairperson delegate type of system, where it may be the mayor that has control of all of the mics in the room. They are able to turn on and off individual mics, or mute people. They say your time's up, that's enough. To much larger assemblies, and again, there's various different levels or capabilities of these kind of systems. Excuse me. And then we are dealing with, again, large venue projection and screens. These could be obviously everything from, public facilities, a town center, that type of thing, to educational environments and stuff. I got a couple of pictures in here which show this concept, but quite frankly, every time I look at them, they make me shake my head. You've got projectors that I think probably are even just photoshopped into some of these things, or at least a couple of them are. Again, doing these type of applications, you wouldn't want to put these projectors right where you're seeing them in here, which is again the need for, some of these higher lumen interchangeable lens products that we brought in, so that you can, if you need to 10, 15,000 lumens, then you need to put that projector at the back of the hall, but still need to fill a 300-inch screen on the front. You have that option as far as what, where to place these things and how much horsepower they need. So again, we've arranged the right kind of solutions to be able to do these type of projects as well. And then with all of this stuff, obviously you're going to end up having to mount a lot of this stuff. And this could be anything, again, from a line array and a PA system in a hockey arena, right down to you maybe want to mount a Sonos or a Vessel sound bar on the back side of a TV, and and everything that goes in to support that. Same thing goes on when you move over into the video and the security side of things. Whether you're looking to hang a projector specifically from a from a T-bar ceiling, for instance, or you need to drop it, maybe it's an open ceiling and you need to drop it 6 or 8 feet. There's all the components aside with that. If you have a short throw or ultra short throw projector, the type of mounts. Again, we talked about the menu boards earlier for fast food restaurants and that kind of thing. Mobile carts, obviously, if you're doing any kind of video wall. It's just, again, we've tried to bring all of the right kind of parts and pieces that you might need to do any of these applications, including monitor mounts. We've got from very, very basic to, to large multiple mounter gas assisted mounts, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of solutions in the mix on the mounting side of things. And then the next couple of slides, without drilling down too much, you're really getting into the stuff, the tools, the pieces, the parts and stuff that we use as installers on a regular basis. So whether that's the tools that you need for this, some of the bits that you're required, whether it's vapor seals and rough-in brackets or boxes, right to maybe sound isolation products like the the Dynabox stuff, etc., etc. When you move over into, again, the other part of that is actually the cabling and the connectivity, this side of things. So it's to have all of the appropriate rough-in brackets and cabling for whatever application, whether it's audio or data or a mixture of those things, whether you need surge protection or UPSs, some of the tools that you're going to need, cables, racks, even just down to banana plugs, for instance. So we've got a great solution for all of the kind of parts and pieces you need for that. I got a couple minutes to wrap up, a couple more slides, so we'll go through this fairly quickly. AV, obviously acoustic treatments is a needed part of all of that, although it's generally a passive product. It's not going to plug into anything. Prime Acoustic is our main AV line that we're working with. And what we've done with them is we've got an arrangement where it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Winnipeg or wherever, you're going to be able to buy Prime Acoustics at a dealer price from one of our locations. And obviously there's a range of solutions. We've all seen probably some of the Prime Acoustics fabric wrap panels. Those have been around forever. They carry on. A lot of the printed or paintable panels, like we see in around that boardroom in the center there, you can add an element of acoustic treatments that don't necessarily look like acoustic treatments. Some of the cloud-based stuff on the left-hand side over there. If you need to deal with this on the ceiling, in that case, they've got some product that is a little newer. It is a full solid color throughout product, so it can even be trimmed or cut to size, and you're not exposing inner surfaces, that kind of thing. Then you go over to some of the newer stuff, which is some of the slat wall product, a range of different veneer finishes that are still acoustic treatments. And then when you get into a little bit more custom stretch, track, and fabric, we'll have a couple of pictures sort of showing that more, but that's where you're wanting to create a very specific look or solution into a space. So just pop through these last couple of slides here. So again, just some of the examples. Office space, a lot of hard surfaces. Probably before this carpet went right over the concrete pad, there was only hard surfaces in this space. So in here, we've got some baffles hanging from the ceiling, some on-wall panels. Again, example of some of the newer product that is arranged, tons of different colors, and they are all, like I said, solid color all the way through. You can build different things in the different shapes, but you can also cut them to fit applications. That one is also showing some of the slat wall product. Here's some slat wall, but with some baffles that actually are available that match that. So again, in this open office space with lots of hard surfaces and glass, able to tame some of the acoustics in there. A big one for a lot of, again, non-traditional looking house of worship. You've got big spaces, a lot of depth to these spaces, and by the time somebody's talking up front, that sound's going back 100, 200 feet kind of thing, bouncing around and reflecting everywhere. Without doing something in these spaces, it gets to be very hard to, and having dialogue intelligibility, know what's actually being said up front there. Here's a example of some of that stretch track fabric. So this is a common area outside of some not meeting rooms, but basically some we'll just call them meeting rooms for now. This space is really challenging. People are going to come out of these various different halls in here and mingle and have conversations, and you've got travertine floors and concrete columns and glass walls, and like this would be a noise and a cacophony in this space without doing something with it. So you see, obviously, some of the panels have been put on the ceiling, the cloud baffles in there to help that. But at both ends of this room, those features that are showing the gray and charcoal and a tan color, those are indeed the stretch fabric and tracking system, where you can indeed put what you need behind that, whether it's acoustic absorbing material, or if you needed more of a diffraction or a reflecting material, they can all be incorporated into a physical design. Very quickly here, some of these other spaces that just needed that central one, a lecture hall, for instance, all hard surfaces, and even in this case, even including the chairs, are all hard surfaces. This is an area that absolutely needed something so that the lecturer in the front can be understood clearly as far as what they're saying. One of the other worst places is, school gyms or just gymnasiums in general. These places need something just to tame all of the reflections and bouncing and noise and everything that's going on in there. If anybody's ever been to a high school basketball game or volleyball game, and the whistles and everything else, yeah, it can be just overwhelming. Now, at the same time, there are very specific panels that go into applications like that are impact resistant. They'll take a ball or somebody, banging or bumping up against it and not wrecking the panel. Lastly, I think we've got in here is just Prime Acoustics is also broadened into a number of more architecturally pleasing, architecturally focused type of products that can go into these applications, where you're putting a visual detail in which the designer or the architect may just fall in love with, going, that looks great, but it's also going to solve a lot of the acoustical issues that are happening within there. So that gets us a couple minutes over, but we're wrapping up here. So that gets us pretty much to the end of this presentation. These are most of the AV brands that we've brought on board. And then this next slide basically is showing them mixed with indeed a lot of the solutions that EECOL has and has had for a period of time, which both support what we're already doing on the AV side of things, or on the flip side, maybe primarily been in place for networking and security and so on and so forth, but a lot of indeed the same integrators are using and needing some of those products. So that takes us to the end of this. I definitely want to thank you for joining us on this thing and for partaking. I think, as Tara said in the beginning, we're going to open this up to any questions here. So I'm going to turn that over, and I'm going to try and stop this particular screen for myself. So.
Thank you, Warren. I appreciate that. The great presentation, a lot of information to unpack. You did a great job. So now we're going to open it up for some questions. We do have some in the session here, so I'll get to it. One actually relates to what you just showed us, Warren, with all of our brands. They asked, can EECOL get brands beyond those that have already been mentioned?
Yes. Yes is, I mean, the kind of obvious question. At the same time, part of that does relate back to not looking to necessarily be that distributor that is collecting brands, but then really, quite frankly, can't properly support multiple versions of those brands. But this is a new venture for all of us. It's been better part of this last year putting together this this list of brands and making arrangements with these manufacturers to want to work with us and integrators in Canada. But for sure, if there's needs that come up, I would say that whether it's myself or any of the specialists throughout the territory, if you're seeing something that you need that we don't have, whether that's by brand or by application, by all means reach out to us, because we're absolutely eager to hear that feedback. In some cases, when that's happened to date, that's really been just sort of, oh, well, you can do it with this, or this brand makes that. And in some of these cases, these aren't brands that necessarily people have used every day. So it's just like, oh, okay, well, that'll work. In other cases, if it's, if it may be spec related and you're looking for something very specific for a spec, and we may or may not be able to, handle some of those requests, but we will certainly be keeping track of them, because if there's enough of them, we want to be making sure that we can provide those solutions.
Excellent, thank you. So our next question is asking, I've been in the industry for a few years doing smaller projects. I like to start bidding on larger projects. Is this something that EECOL can support me on?
Yes. At the same time, part of that is, the industry's had anybody that's been in it for a long time has either learned by education or the school of hard knocks. And, with that, I would say that, we internally will have education on products and areas. The manufacturers are gung-ho to provide training on a lot of this stuff. And I ran an integration company myself for the better part of 20 years. You don't really want to be learning too much on the job on somebody's project that's paying for you. So again, I would really suggest if you're wanting to expand into an area that you're not familiar with, by all means, reach out to us. We can help you, or we can get you in touch with the manufacturer, the brand that you're wanting to expand into, and just get some level of training before you jump in and have to find out that you don't know what you're doing in the middle of a project. So
perfect, thank you, Warren. So the next question is something we get asked quite often in your travels talking to dealers. So it's, what's EECOL's strategy to protect the AV dealer channel and prevent possible market saturation? So you did touch on this at the beginning of your presentation on how we're going to market and who we're selling to and who we're not selling to. So maybe if you could just go over that again in some more detail to provide clarity.
Sure. Yeah, again, just especially as the last sort of dozen years as a rep before joining EECOL, having dealt with integrators right across Western Canada, you hear a lot of the goods and the bads. It's what kind of sort of came out of some of those slides there, as far as what dealers like about a distributor, what they don't like about a distributor, etc. And I knew from day one when we were setting this up that there needed to be a differentiator, and there needed to be structure behind that differentiation as far as who has access to these lines. Even if I go back in time as an integrator with some of those local distributors, and I'm not picking on anybody, but if they happen to be a security distributor, there was very little differentiation between who walked in the door and who could buy what. And, so as an integrator, I tended to, as much as I could, avoid those distributors, because I'm going like, well, all the effort and work and I put into this thing trying to grow this particular brand, and there's no protection for me. Anybody can walk in there and buy anything. So again, kind of rehashing this, that is one of the things that we did right from day one with this, is to want to make sure, even within our own system, that it doesn't matter even if you have an EECOL account and maybe you've been an EECOL customer for 25 years, it doesn't give you the ability to come in and buy almost any of this product. There needs to be there needs to be one of our specialists, which that's part of what I've been doing this last while, is going out with those specialists, going out to see the integration customers, and we'll carry on with this, but to make sure that everybody is on the same page, that we know who's in the marketplace, we know who's making a living from doing this stuff. And our goal is to partner and support with you on that. It's not to try and water down what you're doing. We're trying to bring actually more partnership, more solution, more convenience to your business. In a lot of cases where we all try and plan the best we can, but you know what? It's nice to be able to know that I've got a protected source who's also got my back. If I need something that Thursday or Friday afternoon, I could go there and I could get it, and it would be a product that is something that I'm also wanting to work with on a consistent basis. So I hope that clears it up. There is a few things, like I said, that we brought in that is going, and they are few that are, more readily available. Obviously, of the company, trying to let the world know that we're in the AV space, there are going to be some people that are, that want to try and stick their toe in and dabble a little bit. And we brought some very specific product in for them to be able to try and do that. But like all of us that got into the industry in the first place, you are going to decide one day, and if you go out and get yourself some training and education and want to be professional in that space, that is an opportunity for people. But it's, like I said, we're not focusing on trying to convert people to that. We're wanting to make sure that we're focused on supporting the people that are making a living in this space right now. So.
Thank you. Well said, Warren. So this is something that maybe we should let everybody know. If they would like to contact an EECOL team member, how would they go about doing that to get more information? Or even if they don't have an account with EECOL, how would they go about securing an account to start purchasing product from us?
Well, in general, I mean, you can go to the EECOL.com site. You can get in there where it is specific. There's some banners that are up that you can get on the AV side of mentioning some of the AV side of what we're doing. And with that, you can get into, there is indeed a list of specialists in the area. At the same time, as Tara mentioned in the beginning, under the umbrella of particularly data communications and AV, if you don't do anything else or don't know anything else, you can indeed call an EECOL location and ask for the specialist for data and AV, and you'll get in touch with that person. But again, at the same time, almost any of us, if our emails are not all that tricky. It's first dot last name at eecol.com. So even myself, it's just warren.press@eecol.com. By all means, reach out. Like I said, there's better part of 1,000 people plus in the company that would be happy to help you down that path.
Thank you, Warren. I would just like to add to that, on our website, we do have a landing page with our branch locations. If you would like to look at all of our 65 locations across Western Canada and into Ontario, and within that listing, there is the regional office. So if you're wondering which branch to connect with to find a regional specialist, please call that regional location and ask for a data comm specialist, and you will be redirected to our team, and they'll be able to better assist you. So hopefully that helps everybody out on the call. So right now we don't have any further questions for you, Warren. I just wondered if you had any final remarks. We've got 3 minutes here. If anybody wants to quickly post something, we'll get to it. But if not, Warren, is there any final remarks you would like to add?
Well, I mostly want to thank everybody that's been involved in this. I mean, between Colleen and Caitlin and Michaela on the marketing side of things, and Tara, overseeing our whole part of the company. I want to thank you all for working on this and getting this message out. It's been sort of a better part of a year-long effort to get a lot of this stuff lined up and in place. And at the same time, yes, there's a fair bit of history there to try and help put this together, but nobody knows everything. So I think the biggest thing I would say is, thanks for joining in. Thanks for having an interest in this. And by all means, give us whatever feedback you would like to, and suggestions along the way. We'd be open to all of that.
Wonderful. And Warren, I just would like to also thank you for your perseverance with all of this. It's been wonderful, and I'm excited for our future and what we're going to do for our customers. So at this time, there are no more questions, but please reach out to us if you feel you need something after the fact. You can contact Warren or myself. We'd be happy to work with you.
Right. Well, thanks, Tara, and thanks everybody for joining us.